And we're plugged in with Maura Collins. I'm joined today by Natalie Sutton. Hi, Natalie.
Hi.
And Tracy Hayes. How are you?
Very well. How are you?
So you guys are the imagination creation of Leap of Faith, a new nonprofit to Pinellas County. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's getting there.
It's getting there.
Yeah, it's getting there. It's coming together. It was a slow process in the beginning until I found Tracy.
All right. So I want to hear the story about, the idea behind the nonprofit and kind of the story about how you've gotten to the point you're at now.
Well, the idea actually came from someone else, and they kind of started it up, and they had the idea first, and they stepped away, deciding that they wanted to do some other things in their life. And I found out about it and thought it was a great idea. And I was like, well, right now I have the time, and I can start figuring this out, knowing nothing about starting a nonprofit. Now I know about starting programs. I worked for Valencia College, started a bunch of programs there. And I was like, I guess I can figure this out. So just little bit by little bit, I started, reading, doing the research. And it wasn't until I was given Tracy's name and told that she might be able to help that it really started coming together.
And my background was in nonprofit through the Pinellas County school system. And we got together one night, and she was showing me the stuff, and I said, well, for better or worse, I kind of know how to do this by the back of my hand, and I have, as my brother has actually eloquently put, been given the gift of time. My 15-year position with one of the schools had ended, and so we just kind of took it from there and started building upon what Natalie had already put into place. Did a lot of more research as well, just finding out that we definitely are filling a gap that's out there. This isn't just another nonprofit where recovery is involved. This is a gap area, and we're very excited to be able to be helping not only the women that are in recovery, but these are pregnant women, and that's when they're the most vulnerable. Speaking as a mom, I know that if you're ever committed to making a change in your life, it is definitely when you're either having that life grow inside you or just born. And these women are looking to make that change, and they're asking for help to get them in off the street and start that path toward motherhood and put the other things behind them. And that's what we want to give them, that shelter and that opportunity to do that.
That's awesome. So what is the mission statement?
So the mission the mission statement is that we want to be able to give women a safe transitional housing to come to as they are walking through recovery, as they are pregnant and homeless, so that they can transition into motherhood.
Wow.
That's basically, our vision obviously is that we could grow someday and there would be no mother that we could not help. But right now we're going to start small, which is we have our eyes set on potentially 14 beds at a time, but we'll start small. One or two, whoever needs our help. That's what we're here. We're here to serve.
Wow, that's amazing. I had my son Michael. He's 13. I gave birth to him in a women and children's treatment facility. There was only 4 women that were pregnant there, so we were on the bottom floor of the building in Lynn, Mass. It's called Project Hope, and upstairs there was about 23 women that were there. And what it did was, from there I got into a 3-quarter house housing. So I shared housing with women that were displaced because of domestic violence, trafficking, all different, homeless. It was more of a 3-quarter house. And from there I got the help I needed with parenting classes, therapy, food stamps, getting back into work, rehabilitation, and also recovery groups that we had during the day. So we got, we had to check in and we had to do chores and stuff like that. But it was a critical time from when I got pregnant and I got off the street to having Michael, and having him in a treatment facility. So I applaud you guys for helping people that are expectant mothers. I don't feel like there's enough of resources outside of a few different places I know that help women and children. So are you going to just kind of gear this towards Pinellas County, or are you going to open it up to many counties in the area? What is the idea behind that?
I can actually answer that. So one of the things we're getting ready to do is Tracy and I are in the process of, going out to meet a place called Women's Residence Brevard, and they're over on the other coast. And one of the things that they do is they take Marchman Acts. And it's only a 6-month program. It's up to 6 months, depending on the courts, what they say. And a lot of those women are pregnant. So what'll happen is when they complete their Marchman Act, they can transfer over here to our facility.
That's amazing. Have you thought about maybe talking to Par Village or any of the other women and children facilities about, like, or DACO, about like aftercare after they have the child, where they would go? Because won't there be like a time limit that they can be in the housing you provide?
Yeah, so like we said, it's still a process, and we're still working on some things. One thing we are just focusing on right now is during the time of pregnancy, and then we'll figure it out from there. Now, what we are going to be doing while they're going to be with us is resume building, interviewing skills, all kinds of stuff like that, making sure they get health insurance, everything that they need, so that by the time they have the kid, they'll be well equipped to go back out into society and kind of fend for themselves. Housing, helping them find housing would be one of those things.
That's awesome. So when I was the vice president at Terra Nova Club Inc., which is a 501c, I was also head of outreach. So I was in charge of helping people like find housing or find meetings or whatever fellowship they were in. But I also worked with the Florida Board, Health Department for the opioid task force and Narcan, stuff like that, but also to get people clothing or get what they needed for resources. So are you going to have like that kind of thing where, we could do a clothing drive or something to give them clothes to go interview with? Or, they're expectant moms. They probably don't have anything. Yeah. So like, what do you need? Other than grant writing and all that money.
So that's actually kind of amazing, and you bring this up because I've already had people coming to me and saying, my daughter used to come every summer or whatever with the kiddos. They've now outgrown the crib. Guess what? I've got an extra crib, or I've got extra clothes here. I've got, and we've already had a lot of those kinds of items offered to us. So that is exactly what we're going to be doing. We're going to try also to do some fundraisers where, for argument's sake, I'll use an example like at a car show or something, where as you come and you do your entry, you're also asked to bring, a lot of times they do like the Toys for Tots, and maybe we'll do clothing or just make it a general clothing drive, and you can mesh a lot of those things together. The biggest roadblock that we're running into right now on getting any real substantial traction is we are still 501c3 pending. And although in the eyes of the state of Florida, we are absolutely legal through the Department of the Corporations and up in Tallahassee with the Ag Department to be soliciting, most companies with their boards, they can't start giving or even get involved with us until the 501c3 is actually provided by the IRS. So we are in a holding pattern right now because a lot of people just want that 501c3, and as you know, that's a daunting task all on its own, and then you sit there and wait and try not to bite your nails down to a nub waiting for the IRS.
Right. Will DCF help you out once you have the 501c? Because they really want to make sure that women that are expectant, that are recovering addicts, stay with their children after birth. And they might be able to give you some resources as well, at Christmas time with the gift drive they do, the Toys for Tots thing. So I would think DCF or, the court system would want to partner up with you guys?
DCF, Early Learning Coalition. A friend of mine is a CPI, as a matter of fact. They're all just waiting. I've got people, the contacts on, and they're all just saying, just let me know. I mean, my phone is going to be crazy the day the 501c3 is provided, because I'm going to be calling all these people saying, remember when you told me this? Well,
right.
Here we are. So yes, to answer your question, yes, they are all. I've been in contact with actually a couple of sheriffs in neighboring counties that are fighting the good fight on the infiltration of the drugs and addiction, and again, they're all excited to have us helping them as a community outreach, more or less, because as one of the sheriffs said to me, everybody that you take in off the street is one less that we have to worry about at night, and we're happy for that.
Well, that's great.
So, I mean, we've gotten a lot of affirmation. We just are in that holding pattern.
Right, that holding pattern. So, I'm developing a website for my podcast, so I will definitely, as soon as you have the 501c set up, I'll put a hyperlink so that people can get more information. I'm going to do that for West Care, and then Rob Palo is on here doing his photography, so that the people that come on here can get that, general awareness, and maybe we could get your name out as well to a couple of the TV stations, because once it gets big enough that you can have it on like more than just the I Love St. Pete Facebook page, you could have more, county-wide recognition. You won't be able to keep up with the amount of donations and help that people will give.
One of the things that I've learned is we've been going through this journey together. Is that when I first started speaking about Leap of Faith, that in explaining what it was, I would get consistently, is there really a need for that? People just really were not aware. They just didn't really realize, and it is a definite gap. And if it keeps the kiddos out of foster cares and keeps them from finding their way, either the kiddos or the mamas themselves, into the trafficking world, I mean, it really is just something from the heart we never want to see happen. So we're just a group, and I'd like to give a kind of a shout out. All of our board members are very business acclimated, but we also have a mental health counselor that's on our board. We have just people from different walks of life, not only from the business, but that can really give from professional backgrounds. So it's not a board that was put together lightly either. Everybody really has something they're bringing to this, and that's exciting as well.
That's awesome. That collaboration and having someone that's a therapist on the board too, to shed that professional side. You have a good mix of people that'll be there. So where is the facility going to be? What town is it? City is it going to be in?
So it's going to be in Pinellas Park.
Okay.
That's where we would really, really want it to be, or in that neighboring area. And we're working, we have an idea of one building. Some people that have been involved in the project are, really wanting this one building and pushing it in the area. Now, we have been thinking of some other ideas because, one thing that's important is having an investor. And, the building we're not entirely sure is going to go through yet. One thing we are focusing on is getting our ducks in a row, though.
Right.
Like, that's the most important part. Right. The building will come. It'll come. If it's, God's will and it's meant to be, we'll have that building. And if not, then we may start smaller, or we may do something where Tracy and I were talking on the way here, and I'm like, well, what if we just get a really tiny motel that's run down, that's already built like the facility that we want, that has the reception area, that has the common areas, but has individual rooms where we could put 2 women in one room. I think it's important to not have one person in a single room, because then they can still stay accountable, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So we're still brainstorming the whole, actual location and what the facility is going to look like at this point.
That's awesome. Because a lot of people don't know what nonprofits do. They think it's a business, but it's a lot different. It's not income based. You know what I mean? So, but they pay, like when I was at the board of Terra Nova, like there's a lot of moving parts that go into that. And the property itself, I mean, if you had a couple investors that can help, like it would just be like any other kind of housing, you know, a new direction or new motives or any of those other ones. You have a couple good investors or just one, or you could do a team and then you'll expand because it will catch on and people will see the success.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know?
Eventually, I would like to see this go even farther. So eventually, like my long-term goal for Leap of Faith would be to have the facility for the pregnant women for the 9 months that they're there or however long they're there. And then when they give birth, have another facility for the mother and the children at the same time, where then they would not have roommates and they would move into their own little apartment and they can start, you know, learning how to live life with their children and figure out how to balance everything, and we'd be there to help.
Right. Are you going to also help them out with like medical care as far as like, you know, an OBGYN or doula or whatever? Are you going to help facilitate a birth plan for them too? So they have, because a lot of these mothers probably don't even know what they're going to do, or they're scared, or say they've been sexually assaulted, like I was raped, and it was important for me to get that grief counseling and, you know, to, you know, have some extra help. You know, I really needed it.
And that's what we are, you know, as we've talked through this, there is not going to be a cookie cutter at all in this. It is all going to be specialized to what they need. In as you say, if someone comes in and there is some sort of a sexual battery or something and they really need to work through that, then that's what they will also get. But that doesn't mean everybody's going to have to go through a sexual battery, you know. So it is definitely going to be tailored. And like Natalie said, the goal is, if we can move this then into the next level for them, they're staying with the people that they've already built a trust with and feel like that okay, this isn't another, you know, this great, everybody here is trustworthy, but everybody's new again. Here I have to start with a whole new everything, schedule the whole. So that's what we're trying to do, is make it so that they have those stepping stones. The idea is to set them up for success.
Right. That's awesome. So just kind of like being able to be case managers too. So will you have case managers on staff that will help them with their development and progression into the real world after? Or?
And that's one of the things that we're going to look into, whether we're going to have them actually a staff or whether we're going to contract with a medical provider. And the reason that I actually personally, from my experience professionally actually, is that if you contract with a facility that provides the case managers or whatever it is that you need, if that day someone calls in sick or decides that this isn't for them or whatever the case may be, that facility provides you with a fill-in. You're not sitting there all of a sudden without, because the last thing we want to do is set these women up for, oh, well, you know, that's typical. Somebody let me down again. So we potentially will be actually contracting with a medical provider for those, so that there's never a day that goes by that we are wondering, is someone going to be there for these ladies?
Right. So you ideally down the road could possibly partner with like West Care, Turning Point, or Operation PAR. I had Bob Neary on here. He's a C-level employee. He helped develop the Mustard Seed, which is the men's program, the men's halfway house in downtown St. Pete. But he also was part of Turning Point when it first became, you know, Turning Point and into West Care. So like if you can get like them onto this, because I mean, they probably have women that they have to turn away because they're pregnant. And as a pregnant mother of recovery, like I was, it was comforting to know that I had somewhere to go. You know, there weren't a lot of options in Boston. It was still kind of a relatively new thing. And I was thinking of opening a halfway house for women and women with children, but there's a huge, I was going to ask you about this, a huge insurance liability, because the mother's expectant. Like, how do you go about that whole process? Is that complicated or expensive?
Do you want to speak to this, or I'm taking over the show here?
Yeah.
I mean, there are definitely nuances with every step we take, and that's part of the decision making of what we're doing right now versus what the long-term goals are. With insurance, that's changing every day with the requirements, and that's another thing that is covered a little differently when you contract out initially as well. They kind of bear that burden a little more. So again, there are a lot of moving parts. I mean, we've even thought it through. To give you an example, so if mama comes in but she's got another child in tow, well, but the child is school aged. Now we've taken in mom, we've got a baby, we've got a child in tow, and how's this child getting to school? Because where our building is may not be busing, but et cetera, et cetera. So you've got it, again, that's why it's a case by case. But as far as the insurance and such, again, that's why I'm kind of leaning at first going to the contracted out and seeing what that burden can be kind of shifted, if not even temporarily. And it's all above board. It's just, how you set it all up.
Right. And then I was thinking about, what about the fathers? The homeless people that have the mother that's expectant. When I was in the 3-quarter house, the men could stay there as well, which it was a little weird. But, families get displaced. Women get clean with their children and have babies, and the husband's there. Maybe there could be like a New Direction has like men's houses, and the women go one place and the guys go another place. But this could really spin off.
Yeah.
You have leaps of faith.
So
that's cool.
Yeah. In the beginning, we definitely want to focus on the women, though,
right?
Because there are recovery houses for the men too. And
right.
I would really love for the women to focus on themselves and their childs instead of on a relationship, especially, in the first part of it. And we're there to help them no matter what. Now, I can speak from my own personal experience of being in a facility like one of these, and where they didn't allow any men, like not even the UPS man could come on property, because of the certain situations that women were put in. They thought, one, it would be triggering. Number two, it'd be dangerous, because there are some people out there that are trying to pull these women back in to whatever they were involved in before they got there. And we do have to think of that as a safety factor for these women and the children. So I think in the very beginning, we're definitely just going to keep it simple and just, look at the women and their child. Right,
because that transitional housing that I was in with my son Michael, there were people that came from, kind of like CASA, like would come from an organization where they were protected and brought there, and their address wasn't given, and there was privacy. So maybe you can also, make a relationship through the court system to have those mothers that are in fear of their lives. I mean, it's scary to come off the street and, when I was an expectant mom, and just know that there was still a guy running around, he took a knife to my face. Like, that was the real thing. Like, I got pregnant with Michael a week out of detox, assaulted or whatever, but I knew I was safe because I was in a lockdown facility where my anonymity was critical.
And that is one of the things that even the one building that Natalie was referring to before, but we were talking about even in the hotel, and I can never keep it straight, hotel or motel, but it would be lovely to have a 2-story facility where the women would be upstairs and the downstairs is almost like that fortress. And it gives you, I remember being up north, and I don't know, when you're sleeping upstairs, you never feel like the boogeyman can get you, because you can't get through those windows upstairs. Right. But that's what we're trying to give them. We're really trying to give them just that sense of, I'm safe.
And I'm clean, and I'm, and I'm given a second chance at being a mother. Mm-hmm. That's like something that these women will, take with them through their lives and be word of mouth for other people to utilize you guys as a stepping stone into some success stories.
I mean, and that's ultimately what we're hoping for. But like Natalie said, our initial goal is, let's be a mom and let's have a healthy baby. We're going to teach them nutrition and things like that. Let's just go ahead and enjoy being a mom. I mean, it's, it really is a magical time, and it's a shame if they don't get to enjoy it.
What's been the best part of the process so far that's really been enjoyable?
As I've gone through, the best part of the process has really been getting other people to go, wow, I didn't know that. I thought that trafficking always looked like this, or it always that it was always, you always imagine the women out on the street in the cardboard box with the hair all. They don't realize, no, this could have been, addiction through legitimate prescriptions at one time. It was maybe a bad choice, or it just got away from her, or whatever. Has been getting people to really realize the reality of it and get away from the stigma and what society thinks it looks like.
Oh, the stigma. So funny you said that. I am going to be doing like a short podcast series. Melissa and Ernest were here, and that we did a parenting one. I'm going to be doing one on mental health, and I wanted to ask how maybe you guys could partner up with something like Suncoast or something for the mental health side, because a lot of these women, if they have bipolar, for example, haven't been on medication, and you can only take certain medication until your third trimester. So I'm sure your mental health counselor will really be good for insight on how to deal with, all the anxiety. A lot of them probably have anxiety. They can have some postpartum, making sure that dually diagnosed piece really comes together, therapy and the medication and all that.
Yeah, and that's one of the exciting things about having her on the board. I mean, she has done everything from her professional life in the mental health counseling, children and adults. And she also does parenting classes and things like that through her church. So she's really very well rounded, and she's very unassuming. People just naturally gravitate, and they just talk to her. She's just really a natural at it. And she does have a lot of connections that we'll be able to. I'm really not at liberty at this point because we haven't really connected with whom she works for, but that is one of the directions we'll be able to go, is utilize that as well and partner with some really awesome organizations.
That's awesome, because a lot of women feel fear with just everything. It's so overwhelming. Being newly clean, being pregnant, having all this like, oh my God, I've been homeless. What am I going to do? And now it's not about me. It's about this baby that is innocent, and you only want the best for them. What about, I was going to ask, what about women that want to have the baby and put it up for adoption? Have you thought about different services for that as well?
And we've talked about that. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole thing, is the healthy baby. And adoption is something that we are definitely going to, embrace if that's what mom feels is the best.
That's awesome. I have so many ideas like running through my head of ways of getting money together.
So I have to say that like all of this, your mind will go crazy. As soon as you start hearing about it, like it's just this vicious thing. Like you can take it so many different ways, and so many different things go into it, especially like just down to the building we were talking about. So many different factors for a building, right? I didn't even know that we needed a sprinkler system. Like who the heck would have thought that we needed a sprinkler system like in this type of building that's housing people? And just
Safety.
yeah, all that different little things. Like for me, like the most rewarding part of all of this is actually seeing it come together, like putting all the people together and seeing it actually form into something. Because I had this great idea, but I wasn't quite sure how to go about it. And then all these different people started popping into my life, like in weird ways too. Like Tracy, I had no idea who she was. I met her through a coworker at an old job that I had. And she was like, hey, this person might be able to help you, just by sitting in an office and talking about it. it's just amazing. And then, the board was formed from there, just us reaching out to people. Hey, are you interested? Do you want to help out with this? And, not everybody has been on the board, is going to be on the board, but we also have these, what would you call them, Tracy? Subcommittees?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, or committees, however you want to.
Yeah.
Yes, but so everybody's on the fundraising committee right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, then we'll be breaking off more specifically into either the specific fundraisers or, really drilling down on, like you said, what the building. I have on the one hand, oh my gosh, I don't ever want to build anything in my life experience. And then that's turning out to be a good thing, because I did think about the sprinkler and the egress and all of that when she walked that walk. And you can look at a building differently. And that's important too, because when we all walk into the building, we all see something different. And it's great because we all collaborate so well that there's no guessing what the other person saw. Everybody's really just working together. It's really been very fulfilling.
That's great.
Yeah. I mean, they can't wait. They're like, well, put me on a committee. I'm like, okay, well, everybody's on the fundraising committee. So
always.
Yeah.
Forever.
Well, trust me, when we finally get the building, when we do this or when we do that, I'm going to need committees, and she's going to be appointing people to do different things. And believe me, there'll be check and balances. So don't rush it, because careful what you wish for.
Well, anything I can do to help. I mean, even in my time on the board at Terra Nova, I just learned so much. There were a few, investors on the board, and silent ones too. And just the way that they've been around over 25 years. So just learning about nonprofit, I started taking some courses online with the Greenhouse, which is in St. Pete. They have a grant writing class. They have a lot of nonprofit classes. And it's a real cool thing to learn about how nonprofits are run, because everyone has this misconception that they're taking in money. But no, this is all volunteer. All volunteer. There's no paid employees. It's all that kind of frontline giving that we give, right? So like the podcast, I'm still kind of looking for a sponsor, but I love this. And when I went on a little bit of a break, people were like, where's your new content? And I was like, well, we're going to go into season 2. The summer was a little bit quiet, and had a little bit of a break. And I couldn't even believe how many people were coming up to me saying, we really felt isolated during COVID, weren't really going to as many meetings, but we were watching your podcast and we loved it. And these were people I didn't even know, reaching out to me, and then other people coming onto my Facebook page and messaging me, I need help, I need a detox, or my child is an addict and maybe an expectant mother down the road, and oh my gosh, thank you for putting me in touch with Leap of Faith. Like, that's the idea around the podcast, staying plugged into your recovery, the things we do in the front lines to help addicts, because that is where, for me, the recovery joy comes from, is the stuff we do on the street to help other addicts.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, we both know friends that are mutual, and when I saw your website, I was blown away. It was so professional. I'm like, they look like they've been around for a while. She's the designer behind the website. Can we give a shout out
to your brother?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can talk about whatever you want.
My brother, he's a school teacher by day, and he designed that website for us. My brother, Greg Fuchs, and he is one that I guess, where his sister goes, she just drags him into stuff. And
it's awesome.
He just, for a man to embrace this as well, to really, and he works his tail off keeping
that's good.
But you said something a few sentences ago that I just would like to kind of build upon. And in my speaking with people, even people I've known for years, you start talking about addiction, and I find anybody very hard pressed to tell me they haven't had something touch their lives, whether it was a coworker, a child, a parent, somebody down the line. Just about everybody knows somebody that has walked through, and in some cases, unfortunately, lost their battle with it. It is more prevalent than people realize.
Oh, for sure. Especially since fentanyl has become such a big problem on the opiate task force. They talk about how the pill mills and the drug dealers are just putting fentanyl in everything now, that I've been off narcotics for 14 years. I'm scared. Like, it's Russian roulette. It's insane. Yeah. I mean, and now we have kids we have to educate, because it seems like it's happening to younger and younger kids, and kids are getting pregnant young.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do when you have high school people wanting to come live at your houses? That's going to be something that's going to be different.
So we're not getting into the juvenile thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good question, though.
Just yet. Maybe down the road. But like we've been sharing, there's so much that goes into this.
Oh my gosh, I can only imagine.
Yeah, so we really need to keep it as simple as possible right now, so that we can open the doors. And then once we have the doors open, we can start expanding when the time is right. But I think that's the safest thing to make this thing successful.
That's good.
Start small and then start growing. And I want to go back real quick to like having men helping us out. There is quite a few men that are totally backing this and behind it 100%. We have another Greg who is kind of our real estate guru. And man, he's been putting spreadsheets together, sending me all kinds of stuff that I don't understand.
Wow.
Yeah.
This guy's brilliant, huh?
Sprinkler systems included.
Sprinkler systems. Get fire extinguishers. I'm sure that there's like fire code and all that. You gotta like.
Oh yeah, and like
especially with safety, what expected mothers like. Yeah. Down to the flooring.
Yeah, and Josh from Oxford House. Man, he's come out of the woodwork trying to help us and give us any kind of advice and suggestions that he can, from, opening up Oxford House and all those places. And, Jimmy Shanks. Shout out to Jimmy Shanks. Everybody knows Jimmy Shanks.
Right.
But he is really the one that has been behind all of us, pushing all of us forward, whether we like it or not.
And that's why I wanted you guys to come on here, because I'm friends with him. And when he was telling me more about, I was like, what is this leap of faith thing? Because I heard people talking about it. He was like, you need to get them on your show. And I said, oh, sounds great. Anything I can do to help make you guys successful. So give us the website so we know what it is, so we can tell everybody.
You want to do it? Or you want me to do it?
You can do it, Tracy.
I'm going to do a personal shout out, though, since we're on the shout out thing. I'd like to also give a shout out to my husband of 36 years, because that is the man that has been really financing and keeping our household going while I've been doing this without a job and without income. Like you said, this is not a moneymaker at all. It's from the heart. And I really just, I would not be able to do this if it were not for my husband's support. I have to say that. I'm one of the lucky ones. I have one of the good guys. But it is, the website is https://www.leapoffaithinpinellaspark.org. And the reason I give you the whole thing is we have not had enough hits yet where Google recognizes us, so you do have to actually put us up in the finder.
Oh, I'm sure the SEO stuff is going to get. It's going to, like, as soon as you get that 501c.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, I couldn't give you all the http://
I would love to help you guys. I would love to help you guys host a nonprofit fundraiser.
Oh,
yeah.
That would
be If you guys want to do that, we could partner up.
Absolutely.
That would be super. I'd love to do.
Yeah, there's some good places like that Quaker
Shakers
place near US 19 in Clearwater, across from Harley Davidson. That'd be a great place to have. And you know what? You can have like outside vendors bring food in.
Yeah.
And then just have like a band play or something.
Oh, I'm serious about the car show.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, the car show sounds fun.
Okay, so let's be fair here, and that's because she knows that I have show car.
All
and
right.
I know how to do this.
That's cool.
And I run with those people. So those and the Harley people.
Right. Or bike night on Thursday nights at the OCC. I've been going, and there's a lot of different people that are there. You just got to go where, even downtown, that market they have on Saturday mornings, the farmers market, you could set up like a little stand right there, and there's a lot of people in downtown St. Pete that are homeless and, need resources. So anything you guys need, I'll donate my time.
Why, thank you very much.
Of course.
I appreciate you having us on here as well. As you can tell,
of course.
we may not be as polished, but our hearts are in this. We are
that is
in
polished.
it for the long haul. It's
That's
just
awesome.
something that really...
I'm just so grateful because I know like Kimberly House has, housing for women and children and stuff like that, but to have more for expectant mothers to line them up for success.
Yeah.
Because, them staying clean and having their kids in their life. And, here I am. I'm a product of that. I mean, I never would have had, Michael was my second son and was, my second chance. And I never would have been able to be where I'm at today if it wasn't for Project Cope, if it wasn't for In Transition in Massachusetts, if it wasn't for Spectrum in Mass and all the medical people that helped me along the way. I never would be where I am today.
I mean, that's one of the things, like I said, going back to the stigma that it gets. I can't imagine going through all of that and then also knowing that to a point society on top of it all is kind of looking down on you. And that's what we want to give them, that you're not looked down upon. We've all made some sort of choice along the line, while it may have been out of necessity or otherwise, that we wish we could have a do-over. We want to offer you your do-over.
That's so great, because children are our future, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's not just Whitney Houston singing the song, but it's so important for us to help people in the front lines. So I thank you guys for coming on the show today. And anything you need, please let me know. I'm going to put your website and everything on my website. So, and your contact information. And I just want to thank you guys for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Yes.
You're welcome.
It was enjoyable.
Thanks.